So we're back in Fish, and today we're going to be talking about the best path for grinding rods. So if you're new to the game, this video is definitely for you. And if you're kind of feeling stuck and you really don't know which rods to go for, this video is for you. With there being so many rods in the game, some people could get really confused as to which one they should be getting. Should I buy the Poseidon rod? Should I buy the Phoenix rod? There's a lot of bad rods in the game, and most of these I'm going to tell you right now you can skip. You can outright skip them unless you're like an avid player of the game, unless you really care about collecting all the different mutations. Maybe you want to be ready for the next big updates and have everything. That's a little different, but this video we're going to be focusing on the top rods to get. That's going to just be 6 different rods. Now, there's a lot of people that still believe it's worth grinding for rods like Trident here. This was an OG rod, right? This is the one you used to go for as a new player. You'd go from like Flimsy Rod to plastic or carbon. Then you'd go to steady, and then you'd go to Trident, and then maybe grind for Rod of the Depths, because Rod of the Depths was like one of the best rods in the game besides the No Life rod, which honestly is still a great rod. No Life rod used to be the max level rod. It was level 500. Now we're max level at 1000, and by the time you watch this video it might even be more, because we got a new update coming out this weekend, and I believe they're going to be upping the max level yet again. Well, let's start from the beginning. Everyone starts with the Flimsy Rod. This is a really bad rod. First thing you need to do as a brand new player is use codes. So you can get about 14,000 coins worth of codes from just entering codes alone, so you don't really have to use this rod ever. So the first rod you really want to go for though is going to be the plastic rod up here next to the merchant, and it is this one right here. It's only $900, and it's a really good rod. A lot of people will probably disagree with me and say no DV, carbon rod's the next best rod. Carbon rod is 2,000, this one's 900. Anyone who knows me and my videos, I do my homework. All right, so yeah, let's go through why the plastic rod is the better rod to get over the carbon rod. All right, this is the official wiki, by the way, so it has the up-to-date stats. We've got the Flimsy Rod here. This is a starter, pretty much zeros out, and then max kg. This is important because certain fish are obviously different weights, so you're only going to be limited to whatever's like 10 or less, and that's a lot of fish. But right here is the plastic rod, and then we got the carbon. So cost, you already know. Look at the lure speed. So this is 10 lure speed. This basically means you're gonna have to shake a whole lot more, like a lot slower as a result. You got 15% luck with the plastic rod, whereas the carbon rod does have a bit more luck. Not a lot, but just a bit more. It also has a little bit better control than the plastic rod. I'm gonna tell you, I've never noticed a difference here. I've also never noticed a difference with the luck. I have noticed a difference with the lure speed. It is really slow to use the carbon rod. And then the resilience is identical, so the fish aren't going to be harder. The big difference being this. Max kg is 100 versus 600 here. This doesn't matter if you fish where you need to fish. So you're saving 1100, just not going with carbon. You can. I'm not going to, fight a war over you choosing carbon over this, but it's just kind of a silly thing to have to shake longer. You're going to catch more fish with this guy. And where you should be fishing with that rod at the start is Atlantean Storm. Atlantean Storm's going to give you big money fish. Nothing's like less than 100. I think it's like the minimum is like 150 for each fish over there. And it's a really good rod. But you're only going to be using this rod for, I would say, maybe an hour and a half if you do it right. The next rod you're going to be going for is not the Arctic rod. If you were thinking the Arctic rod and you've been playing the game, unfortunately they nerfed the Arctic rod into the dirt. It is not worth going for anymore. Sadly, it is bad. So technically you have 2 choices for the next rod you want to get, and my choice is going to be the Champions rod, and I don't honestly think there's any other rod better than that, because I've done multiple runs. But you're going to be seeing a video soon with me using the Champions rod, and it's kind of good. It's like really good. It's not even kind of good, it's really good. So this is the Champions rod right here. And with Hasty, check this out. This is with Hasty. Boom. Look at this control bar, dude. It's 55%. It's half your screen. The resilience is nuts on this rod, and it only costs 80,000. Just 80,000. It's nothing. Now, assuming you had about 12,000 or so, you still have 10,000, right? And so you just need to grind 70,000 coins. You could do this with the plastic rod over at Atlantean Storm. Again, Atlantean Storm is one of the best fishing places. It is near the Grand Reef. You could use any of the 3 islands outside of the Grand Reef. But in order to be able to get the Champions rod, you do need to go into Atlantis. You don't need to beat Atlantis, you just need to be able to enter it, which is really easy. You could watch any of my Atlantis videos, and it shows you how to get the TNT. It doesn't matter what level you are. You could do this like level 1 and go over there and get it. Now, in order to get into Atlantis, you do need diving gear. At least this one is 3,000. Once you have the entrance to Atlantis unlocked, you could pretty much just use your Heart of Zeus, zap it, and there's the Champions rod right here. You don't even have to travel very far. That's it right there. An alternative would be the Depth Seeker rod, and the reason why I don't recommend the Depth Seeker rod is purely because it's really hard to catch stuff with it compared to the Champions rod. It's worth the extra 40,000. Depth Seeker is 40,000 instead of the 80,000. The stats are very similar to the Champions rod. I will show you them real quick to explain why this is not as good of a rod. I have tried it, and I did use it for a Noob to Pro video, and it failed. With this one, it did not. I'll explain that. Now, you can see here the Depth Seeker rod is a stage 3 rod, so it's not as good as a Champions rod. Champions rod is considered a stage 4. I don't know why. They're pretty much similar stats. The main difference you're going to see with these rods is the Depth Seeker has, it's like half the price. Lure speed's a little faster. Oddly enough, it's like 10 faster, I believe. Yeah, 10 faster. But if you get hasty on the Champions, then it's instant catch anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And luck is 70% on the Depth Seeker. It's 65% here on the Champions. It's really no difference. Control is less on the Depth Seeker rod, so it's 0.17, whereas the Champions has 0.25. This is a massive, massive difference, by the way. We're talking a 0.08 difference. That's huge. You also have a resilience of 25 here with the Depth Seeker, whereas this has another 5% of resilience. And then you've got 50,000 here for the max kg on the Depth Seeker rod, whereas the Champions has 200,000. So you can catch more fish with the Champions rod, but this doesn't really matter because most of the fish you're going to be grinding with up until you get better rods are not going to be more than, like, I would say 13,000, 15,000 anyway, unless you're really trying to go after some really, really big fish like whales. If you're trying to grind secrets and the Mariana's Veil, it's going to be really, really hard for you to do that with that rod. Whereas if you use this rod, it's cake. It's a breeze. You don't even blink. Whereas that one, good luck. Like, it's really, really hard. It makes that big of a difference. It's really hard to catch secrets with that rod over there compared to this rod right here. A lot of people might ask, well, DV, why not the Trident rod? I mean, look at the stats. I mean, first of all, it's 20%. You've got 150% luck. That is a lot. You also have the Atlantean mutation, which is great. You only have 6,000 kg on this, which does limit you. You can't catch secrets. And even if you could catch secrets, you have 0 control and 0 resilience. Now, of course, the Trident does have this stabbing ability, which does help you catch fish and makes up for a little bit of these. And on top of that, this thing costs 150,000, or the Trident does, and you have to open it up. You basically have to complete a bestiary to be able to get in there, and that's a pain. And you need some relics too, so it's just not good for new players. It's great for your collection, but I can't think of any times I've had to go use Trident other than for crafting the Rod of the Exalted. The next alternative is going to be the Volcanic Rod. I really like the idea of this rod because it's basically a mini Heaven's Rod. You have a 5 times mutation out of this rod, but the big problem with this rod is that control and resilience. It's worse than the Depth Seeker's rod. It's actually way worse. So if you somehow end up with a Magma Leviathan hooked on this thing, you're going to lose it. It's really, really hard to catch secrets with this because it's got such bad control and it's got such bad resilience. The nice thing, though, is you do have max kg of infinite. You also have decent luck and kind of terrible lure speed. So would not recommend the Volcanic Rod at all as your alternatives to this stage for rods. Beyond that, there's not really any other rod that's worth it. Arctic Rod got nerfed into the ground, so you can't really even consider that one. So yeah, this is the rod to use now. This is the meta. I've tested all the different rods at this stage, and this is the king at this stage. And it's kind of crazy because if you remember when Atlantis first came out, this rod was like what, like 1 million or something. It was insanely overpriced, and I'm glad they finally came to reason with a decent rod. Now, the next rod after Champions Rod, you have 2 choices. You can either grind until you get to level 500, which you're not going to do that. I can tell you that. You're not going to do that. Or you can grind for Heaven's Rod. Heaven's Rod is a really good rod. It is one of the top, I think, like top 4 now. This is not a ranking video, so I don't really know. I could be off on that. But the Heaven's Rod is pretty easy to get. It's just a money game. You need 2 million for that. After getting this rod, 2 million is not going to be that hard. You just need to make sure you're fishing in the right spot. I would recommend to fish at either Atlantean Storm with this rod, or you can fish, I would say Abyssal Zenith is a really good spot. Volcanic Vents is technically, supposedly one of the best spots. I would disagree with that, but the devs have like these little formulas that they run. I just did it from my own playthroughs, and I really liked the Abyssal Zenith area. Challenger's Deep, I haven't really tested a whole lot, so you know, that could be a good spot. My favorite spot to fish in the game has got to be the calm zone, but that means you have to fish up all those secrets and such. But the nice thing is if you're kind of progressing through the game naturally, if you're like unlocking the Mariana's Veil anyway to get all the secrets, to get all the bestiaries completed and all that, just to get to the calm zone, you're probably going to have a million or two anyway by then. So Heaven's Rod is a really great rod to get. This thing has a really good multiplier with its mutation. You are going to want to have Hasty because it's a very slow rod. It's a 30%er. So when you add that, you know, Hasty, it gets like a little bit faster. It's just a couple clicks or so. It's still kind of slow, but 4 clicks is not that big of a deal for the money that it gives you. So it's a big money making rod, one of the better money making rods in the game. Besides, I would say the Kraken rod is actually pretty good, but you need to have like quantum or something on it. You need a mutation to make it more powerful. The other really good rod is a level 750 rod. So we're not even going to consider that yet, because otherwise if you're level 500 anyway, I would be telling you to use the no life rod over the Heavens Rod. And why? It's got a really good lure speed. It's 90% lure speed. That means you can put other things on it. It's got 105% luck, has 0.23 control, good resilience, infinite kg. It also has stabbing ability, and you get, it doesn't show it here, but you get the hexed mutation off that thing. So you're making money anyway. You can save your 2 million. It's a free rod, and no life rod will carry you all the way to the Forgotten Fang. And potentially it could carry you to the best rod in the game, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Now, no life rod, like I said, it's a level 500 rod. It's got like nice stabbing abilities here. It's not as frequent as some, but it's going to like give you a lot of fast progress. You're going to catch stuff very quickly, and it's got good luck. Heaven's Rod does have better luck, but this is free. You save 2 million. And that's kind of important when we're talking about spending money in this game, because the best rod in the game is only 15 million. Granted, you do need to do a lot to get it. Save the extra 13 million for the best rod in the game. But the next rod after no life rod is going to be the Rod of the Forgotten Fang. And that is this rod right here. This is a really, really great rod. Probably one of the top 2, no, I would say top 3 rods in the game. Maybe top 4. But this thing gives you free fish. It doesn't have its own mutations, and it's pretty cheap. It's like, I think it was like 300,000 for this thing. The main issue is you have to craft it, and that means you need to go to the Ancient Isle and unlock the Ancient Archive, and then you got to go and get all the materials. The materials are really, really easy to fish up, so that's good news. It's not hard to find the materials for this rod. The problem is it's like level 750 to unlock it, and that is a bit of work and a lot of time, unless you get like jump onto one of their double XPs or you're that close to getting it. This one will, you know, pretty much carry you all the way through to the best rod in the game. So I do have a video out showing you how to do the Northern Expedition to get the Heavens Rod. If that's something that you want to grind for, you do need to save about 2 million for it. And the only reason why you want to save 2 million is you have to buy the final crystal for 250,000. So the rod only costs 1.75 over here, or 1.75 million. And then you need to pay the guy at the top for the red crystal. All the other crystals are easily obtainable. So you have to also buy all the equipment up here, and then you're probably going to want to buy the avalanche totem so that you don't have to wait for someone else to trigger or wait for it to naturally spawn. So there's like one crystal here, that's the yellow crystal, that you can't get unless there's an avalanche active, and I don't really like waiting for stuff, so I would just go and buy the totem for avalanche. And so you're looking at about 2.2 million all in all, and then you could pretty much do all of this. You can get the oxygen tanks, you can get the, you know, advanced glider, you can get all the gear that you want, because you have to complete the puzzle in order to be able to unlock that room. Now, I do have a video showing you how to get the Heavens Rod. I also made a Noob to Pro video showing how to get the Heavens Rod, so you can definitely check that out. Some things have changed since then, like the Arctic Rod. They nerfed it, so you kind of have to go with this Champion's Rod that I showed you earlier. And this is going to carry you probably faster to Northern Expedition than the Arctic Rod did. With the Rod of the Forgotten Fang, you need to go over to the Ancient Isle. That is pretty much where you're going to craft that. So this rod right here, you have to craft it behind the waterfall. And it is a little tricky because in order to be able to unlock that, you need to get all the different fragments. And then you could get other people to help you as well. A lot of people have moved on from Ancient Isle though, so it's going to be a little tricky. You got to get some friends to help you that know how to do it. They can still help you. Even if they've already unlocked the archive, they can still turn the things for you and help you out regardless. I would say you can safely skip the level stuff though. Like, honestly, let's just go back to this. You can skip the Rod of the Forgotten Fang. You can skip No Life Rod and just live with the Champion's Rod all the way up to the best rod of the game. Crazy, right? You can do this. because this rod is so good. So I've used this in a brand new account. Keep it out. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. But I already did it. I already reached this area. I'm on my way to get an ethereal prism rod with this rod alone. It's just that good. So technically you only need to buy plastic champions rod and then ethereal prism rod. Crazy. I know it's insane, but it is doable. And no, I'm not talking about any AFK stuff, like no macro, nothing like that. We're legit talking about active grinding because this rod is so fast. So I'm just going to show you real quick inside the calm zone. I'm also going to show you how good this rod is inside of the Forsaken Veil. Now, in order to be able to get into the calm zone, you do need to catch all the secrets. This champion's rod can do all of that for you. You don't need anything else. You can easily catch sea dragons with this thing too, with perfect catches. What I like about this area, the calm zone, pretty much everything's like super chill to catch. Like nothing's high negatives. So you're not going to find like negative 90s or negative 65s and such. They're all pretty chill. Now, this is the ethereal prism rod. In order to be able to get this rod, you do need to beat Scylla and you need to complete the bestiary inside that zone. And that is over here. And it's super easy to beat her. You can watch my video on how I beat her, but I don't think you need that video. Just stay off the ground. That's all I'm going to tell you. Stay off the ground. Keep gliding around. You'll do just fine with her. So we're in the Ville, and you can see we got this big pond here. This rod will do it all. So it doesn't have a long cast, though, so you kind of need to go a little lower to reach it. But, so yeah, see, this is too high. So you have to kind of go a little lower. Right there is good. All right, so this thing will handle everything in this room. Now, I haven't tried to catch Scylla with it, but I'm pretty sure you can. I'll show you with some of the harder fish in here. That's a negative 40. Let's see if we can get a mythical. Here's a legendary. Negative 80. This rod is smoking. From a control standpoint, resilience standpoint, ability to catch standpoint, all that, this rod's awesome. Especially with hasty. I will mention I do have hasty because look how fast we catch. It's instantaneous. And finally, we do have the best rod in the game, which is the ethereal prism rod. I do use Sea Overlord with it because it, combined with its own mutation, this is like the best money-making rod in the game now. The Sephoric rod is good. It's not like the best anymore. It's just really good for catching stuff quickly, but I don't like the shakes that it does, and it also requires level 1000. So if you're that level already, you've got everything in the game, and this video wasn't really for you. Yeah, 15 million, grind for it. It's gonna take a while. I'm not gonna lie, it does take a while. One thing I forgot to mention is whether or not you should get Rod of the Depths, and I will tell you, no, you don't need Rod of the Depths. It's an old school thing to get. Like, you don't really get it anymore. It's okay if you have the time and you want to grind for it. You can waste the 750,000 plus all those relics that it needs. It needs the Abyssal relic and also needs the Hex relic, which if you have them, then go for it. It's just a bit of work. So good luck with that if that's what you want to do. But I would say it's kind of a waste of money. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next vid with this next update.